Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I am back with another video. Today's video is featuring this new stamp set from Picket Fence Studios, and it is my next stamp set. So I illustrated this set for Picket Fence Studios. It is called Surprise, It's Your Day, and it features this little surprise box and some heart balloons. There are birthday sentiments as well as Valentine's Day sentiments, so it's kind of doing double duty. You guys know I'm a big fan of being able to stretch your stamps for more than just one holiday. And so I wanted to show you how you could use it without any masking at all. Currently, there are not dies for this available, but the dies will be available. There was a bit of a production issue. So eventually there will be dies available. I will let you know when that comes to fruition. But for right now, it's just the stamp set. So I wanted to show you how you could use it as a one layer and then how you could use it as a multi-layer. So this little heart confetti, like to fill up the box, is drawn so that it is perfectly sized for the box. You do not have to do any masking to stamp this portion inside the box. You don't have to mask anything. It will fit perfectly, as you'll see here. Once I'm done stamping, it fills up the box with our little confettis, and then I can go in and stamp our heart balloons. There's a bunch of balloons as well as a single balloon. That way, if you want a bigger bunch, you can add more. If you want a single balloon, you can just use that. If you want to create your own balloon bunch, also an option. Big on the big on the versatility. So this one will be the one layer one. There's also some little confettis included in here. I'm going to use 2 of them to just stamp around the hearts. So that way it looks like, you know, the heart, as the box comes open, the balloons are coming out as well as some confetti. I'm going to stamp some around the hearts, and then I'm also going to stamp some kind of on the ground as if that confetti's kind of already fallen out. I chose a rainbow theme for my cards today, honestly, because I love rainbows. But you could totally do them however you wanted. When I originally drew the set and did like the mock-up, I did it in like pinks and purples for Valentine's Day. And I think once we get closer to Valentine's Day, I probably will make that card in real life. But I think it's a super kind of fun little set that you can use for lots of different things. This would even be fun for like if you used the box and the confetti. You could use the balloons too, but like for like a New Year's card, that would be really cute with like, you know, the number like 2024. There's lots of different ways you can use it. I think it's adorable. One of the girls from the design team actually used it with one of the little like Peter Rabbit stamps. Like, so this rabbit's kind of popping out of the box, which is really fun. I love anything that's creative. So I told you no masking. There's no masking required for the stamping. I did have to mask the box. I did not mask the balloons, but I did have to mask the box to do a little bit of ink blending in the background. For a softer blend, like because I'm going in pretty much right into the center, you'll see that I am picking up the ink off of my distress pad, and then I'm kind of tapping it onto my work surface. So that way that gets off the majority of the ink. Like I just wanted a really soft blend. I chose to work with the primary colors, so that way I wasn't trying to go in and do each individual rainbow color. I knew that, you know, mixing them, I would be able to get the look of a rainbow, so I would be able to create that purple and that green by just overlapping my colors. And so that's what you see me doing here. The reason I chose not to mask the balloons was because balloons are transparent. And so you would see a little bit of that background coming through anyway. I am going to go back in with the blue, that middle color, basically that's creating my other 2 colors, just to make that a little bit bolder so you can see the purple and the green coming through. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove my mask, and then we are going to get into the coloring. For that, I'm going to be using my Copic markers. I decided I was going to color the box white and then do a like a rainbow ribbon, if you will, to complement my rainbow colored balloons and my everything's rainbow. Everything's rainbow in this. So I am adding shading to my box. Again, this is drawn in a little bit of a different perspective. I just think it makes it a little bit more interesting than a box just straight on. And so when you're coloring white, we're just adding in the shadows. So that is what you see me doing here. We're not going to be adding a ton of shading to the box, just enough that it appears to be white. It will look gray in the beginning because we have no other colors that are surrounding it, but by the end of it, it will look like a proper white gift box. So, yeah, I couldn't, this is the first stamp set that I've ever done that I couldn't show you guys my, like pre-drawing. Like I always show you my sketchbook when I am doing, like one of my new illustrations comes to the market. Because this is the first one that I ever drew I think I drew all of it digitally, which is like a huge thing for me because I am a pencil and paper kind of girl. So I suppose that means I'm kind of growing in my illustrating skills. As I'm, I'm learning. I'm very new to this. And so I really appreciate all the companies that are, have reached out or who are willing to kind of work with me to bring my stamps to market. So yeah, so I'm just, though there's more to come. I can tell you that. There is more to come. So we've colored balloons before here on this channel. I like my balloons to look transparent. We're going to get to that at the very end. But basically what I'm doing is I'm adding shading to kind of like the left and the right hand sides. And then also kind of where it would bow down, where what do you even call that? Where like the middle of the heart, where that meets, where it would bow down, I'm adding a little bit of shading there as well. I am leaving an outline on the outside for a little bit of a lighter color for some bounced light. And then where the roundest part of the hearts are, I'm leaving that area for my highlight. Something to note about the blue combination, I'm using a B26, a B24, and a B41. The 41 is much grayer. Normally I would use a B21, but I don't have a refill for it and mine is out. So I am going to have to pick up a refill for that, but the 41 does work. It's just a little bit more muted and not as bright. So anyway, back to the balloons. The majority of your shading is going to be at the bottom where your balloon is gathered, and then just kind of bring it up kind of around the sides, leaving that gap for the bounced light. And then the vast majority of your balloon will be filled in with your mid-tone. You'll go right over your darkest color and fill in all of the areas except for the outside outline, and then those two kind of highest points for your heart, you'll fill those in with the lightest color. And then if you find, like I did here, where I lost a little bit of my mid-tone because my lightest color bleached it out, you can always go back in and add it to make that just a little bit darker. Basically, you can play around with these as much as you would like until you're happy with the blend that you're getting. Just make sure that you're not adding so much ink that it's bleeding outside of your lines. You don't want that. So obviously, for your rainbow, I absolutely could have used an orange instead of a purple, to swap those out. I liked the purple better. I thought that it was, I don't know, it just like kind of popped off the card more. But basically, I'm pretty much just picked my colors based on the colors that I created with my ink blending. Now, if maybe I had gone red, yellow, blue, maybe it would have ended up being orange. But with this particular background, the purple looked better because I had created purple. And the other thing that I did want to say is you'll notice that these colors look more muted than usual. And that is because of the ink blending in the background. So when we do the next card, there won't be any ink blending in the background, and you'll be able to kind of see their true pigments and how bright they really are. This one is just a smidge more muted because I did the ink blending. So now here's the transparency part. Basically, I picked the mid-tone for each one of these colors, and then I am going in and just completing the heart. So for this one, I started with the V01. It wasn't dark enough, so I went back in with the V04. For the blue, I used the B24. For the yellow, I use the Y08. And then this is just going to, oh, I should say for the green, I use the YG03, which is actually the lightest color. But then that way, when you're, going in and creating that transparency, you should be able to see some of the other colors kind of peeking through the balloons. The only color you won't use is the one that, whichever color you decided to color your main heart, the full heart balloon, you won't really have that overlapping anything. That one will be the one that's overlapped by almost everything. For the inside of the box, I chose to do some stippling so that way I could create my own little rainbow in there. So I'm just going in, and as I'm doing each individual color, I am just kind of doing some dots of color inside the box right over those hearts. You can color them in individually, but I found that because I was trying to do so many colors, this worked just as well. And then I'm using those same colors to color in my confetti. I am not doing any shading for that. I am literally just putting down one color. So on my last video, several of you very sweetly, very, very sweetly were like, you sound like you need to put yourself to bed. You sound like you need some rest. I do have a bit of a cold. I am fairly sure I picked it up from my toddler because she had a little bit of a cold last week, and now here I am with a little bit of a head cold. So far it hasn't been too bad. I am tired. I am congested, and that's probably what you guys are hearing. But has it kept me from working? No, it has not. No, it has not. Have I maybe taken an extra nap or two? Yes, I have. So I am taking care of myself. Fear not. But literally, I can't spend my whole day just in bed. I just cannot. I am not feeling badly enough for that. So I am still working, still putting out the videos. I have a couple of videos of things that I have made, that still need to go out. So, there'll be, a couple more that are coming down the pike here soon. One of them, I was in 2 blog hops today. This is one of them. Picket Fence. In fact, I need to tell you what that is. So if you have Instagram, you can go over and participate. All you have to do is comment every, comment along the hop is kind of an entry, and they are giving away $75 to their shop. So that's a pretty good amount for their new release. I'm also in one for all to do today, and that video won't come out until probably later this weekend. But they're doing a giveaway as well. So if you are interested in maybe winning some stuff, you guys know how I feel about winning some stuff, that you will want to hop over there and leave a comment. So I did my little rainbow ribbon, and now I'm adding just a little bit of shadow, a little bit of ground underneath my box. And this is just going to help it look so that it's not like floating in midair. I'm using the same cool grays that I used for the white box. I'm just using darker colors. So for the box, I used a C1, a C3, and a C5. For the ground, I started with a C7 and then used all of those same colors to just kind of blend that out right around the little confettis as well. And then that looks so much more grounded now. To finish this card out, I did add some shimmer to the balloons because I like glitter. Of course, you could always skip this step if you're not into the glitters. But I add glitter to the balloon, and then I also added some glitters to the confetti pieces as well. I'm using the Nuvo clear glitter, but I think in the next one I end up using the Zig. They're both in the same container on my desk, so whichever one I grab. They're both really, really great. I haven't had issues with either one of them, and when I go shopping, I buy them both because I like them. So the other thing that I'm going to do to finish this off is I'm going to go in and add some highlights with my white gel pen on the balloons, on the confettis. Also, in the confetti box, I'm going to do just some little dots, some stippling dots, and then I'm going to use it to draw a little polka dot onto my ribbon. These are just little added details that kind of set the cards apart from maybe somebody else's. And then the last thing that I need to do is to add a sentiment. This is a completely one layer card. However, it felt like it needed a little something extra. So you could totally give the card just like this and put a sentiment on it. I decided I was going to kind of pop mine up. So the whole scene is still one layer. That is still true. But I'm just going to put it on a white card base with a matte. So here I'm stamping this surprise. This trick is a trick that I used to use years ago before everybody had dies with their sentiments. And in fact, I worked for a company that was called Make It Crafty. They're no longer in business, but she saw me do this so many times on my cards that she actually created her own chipboard letters, and she called them like Kelly sentiments or something like that because she added a shadow with them. So my little trick for these one layer cards is I stamp my sentiment in black, but then I go in with a white gel pen and outline it. This helps the sentiment to stand out. And also that white outline kind of puts a barrier in between the stamping black lines and the sentiment black lines, and it makes it so much more legible. If you choose to do this and you run into a little bit of an issue where maybe, you know, when you were going around your S or whatever and you cut off part of your lettering, just go back in with a fine liner and you can fix it. It's no problem. So I am using the Picket Fence foam tape roll here. I cut a large piece and then it wasn't quite long enough for my full piece, so I just used some extras that I had stuck there to kind of balance it out. And then I am going to add some liquid adhesive because this is really, really sticky stuff. Here, there was a dog hair that was stuck to my foam tape, and I don't think whoever receives this card would like my dog hairs in it. So I'm going to remove it. But anyway, the liquid glue is going to give me a little bit more wiggle room, and you're going to see as soon as I put it down, I absolutely need it. I am not good at, like, one shot, and it's a winner. Like, I put it down, I was like, ooh, that's crooked. I immediately go to pick it back up, and if I had not put the liquid glue on there, that would not have been possible. I would not have been able to pick it back up. So now I'm going to go in, which I know that I have to do, so why I didn't do it to begin with, I don't know. I do much better going in from the side so that I can see two of the corners and to know that it's straight. And then this little stickles, I like the Stardust stickles because they take on the color of whatever's behind them. But again, if you're not a glitter person, skip it. I'm just adding some little glitter spots around the confetti into the confetti box and then on some of the little confetti hearts. The last thing I'm going to do is some glossy accents. You could totally fill in the balloons in their entirety. I chose to just outline them to just add that little bit of shine without having to fill it in and wait forever for that to dry. It dries much faster when it's just kind of a thin line. And then this card is done, and we're going to move on to the layered one. So this one does require some fussy cutting. If that's not your style, you could absolutely kind of like stamp and mask these to get kind of the same look. You just wouldn't have the same dimension. So I have cut a piece of cardstock that is it's 4.25, no, width times length, length times width. Length times width, 4.25 by 3. What is it? Guys, why can't I math? It is by 3. I think that's what it is. We're going to trim it down anyway. So what am I even talking about? Anyway, because I wanted to have the balloons kind of coming out from this white piece of cardstock. So here I'm doing the same thing that I did before. That is why I sped it up. This is the same thing. This time I did change the order, so it changes the rainbow, and now we have the orange instead of the purple. I'm still going to color my balloons purple, but then I'm going to use this larger confetti piece that is included in the set to kind of stamp this all around the background, and I'm just going to stamp it in black. I'm not going to do anything else to it. I'm just going to stamp it, turn it, stamp it, turn it, stamp it, turn it until everything is covered. It doesn't really matter if they overlap because I'm going to have this white piece of cardstock. But if it matters to you, if you're trying to create a background, you can stamp it so that it covers your full background without overlapping. It's just not something I was worried about because I knew that I wasn't going to use the middle part wouldn't be seen. But you can absolutely use this to just stamp kind of a confetti background. And then once this stamping is done, I am going to stamp these balloons so many times, so many times. So that way I have lots of balloons that are kind of flying out or coming out from behind my little sentiment. So as far as, I told you I have a little bit of a cold. I do. It's okay. We're making it through. It's hard when, what was it, it was last week, I think. Sunday, maybe? That's this week. My days are running together, yo. I cannot keep them straight. But anyway, no, it wasn't Sunday. It had to have been last Friday. Or Thursday. What? Just move on, Kelly. Just accept that you don't know what day it is and move on. Anyway, there was one night in the week where Miss Caitlin was up. She was up for so long, and because of work things, my husband was not home for any sort of a reprieve. And so we were up from 3 until I thought I had her at 5:30. She tricked me, those toddlers. So she wasn't crying or anything. She was just awake. And I was laying on she really this is very sweet. She likes, when I lay on the floor next to her and then she wants to hold my hand while she's falling asleep, which is adorable, but also means that I have no blood flow to my hand after a while. So it was just hours and hours and she would not go to sleep. And finally at 5:30, at 5, I thought she was out. And so I kind of stood up to look at her and she rolled over and looked right at me. And I was like, disregard, you are still awake. So then at 5:30, I thought she was out. And I looked at her and she didn't move and she, had her deep sleep breathing going. So I went into bed. I sent my husband a text because normally he tries to help me out to make sure that, I'm up and everybody's moving and everything, since our schedules are a little bit crazy. And so I sent him a text and I was like, I know you try to normally make sure that we're up at a reasonable time. Don't call me. I'm just getting into bed now. And it was 20 to 6. I literally got into bed and she started crying again. Oh my word. It was the worst. So anyway, I went back in there and I was like, baby girl, I love you. Mommy can't stay up anymore. You have to go to sleep. I threw her a few extra pacifiers, as little life jacket for her. And then I went back to bed. Thankfully, apparently all she needed was some extra pacifiers because she did roll over and go to sleep. Thank you, Jesus. But it was just a super long night. Did that probably contribute to me getting a cold? Yeah, probably. Because I think I had 4 hours of sleep that night. And then I ran the whole next day on those 4 hours. So I'm sure that I absolutely did this to myself by not getting any sleep. But sometimes it's just the way it rolls when you're a parent. It just is what it is. So hopefully nobody else gets my sickness, and it will end with me, but she seems to be feeling better, so thank God. Okay, now we're on to the fussy cutting. So for this, because I'm going to have some in front, I did stamp some single balloons and trim those out. I also am going to trim out these larger ones. Now, if you want more of the balloons to show different lengths or heights, you can absolutely trim off that balloon that's on the top. You won't miss it because it's a tucked behind balloon. So in this case, it would be the purple one. I chose to leave that one on all of mine, but if you trimmed it off, you could raise up the other ones as well. But basically, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to trim these out. This is the layout for my card. I realized pretty quickly that my white piece of cardstock was too large, and so I decided I was going to go in and I was just going to trim a 1/4 of an inch off. So now it's going to be 4 by 2 3/4. So it's just slightly smaller. You'll be able to see more of the balloons. All of the pieces that I fussy cut, I am going to go in and go around the edges with my tuxedo black marker from Memento. This is a water-based marker, so that means it's not going to bleed into my alcohol, ink, coloring. You could use whatever you have. Tombows, Crayola, like anything that's water-based will work for this. You'll also notice that some of these pieces have kind of like a little white handle at the bottom, and that's because I knew it was going to be tucked behind, so I didn't take the time to cut them all out. My white rectangle felt a little blank, so I decided I was going to fill it up with some second generation stamping, and all that means is I'm just going to stamp it off once, and then I'm going to stamp it a second time. I chose the same colors that I used in my ink blending, but I chose to stamp in oxides because they just stamp nicer. They just do. Distress inks don't stamp great. So I'm just working in rainbow order. I started with blue, green, yellow, red, purple. And then each time you'll see I'm using my sticky mat for my Sweet Petunia. I am moving it up the same amount of blocks every time, cleaning off my stamp, and then double checking everything is lined up, inking it up, stamping it off one time, and then stamping down my second generation stamping. This isn't going to be something that's like super in your face, but it does add some visual interest to the background without overwhelming. And it's something that's really easy to do because it's just a repeated sentiment. And words like surprised, or you could do happy for the birthday if you're looking for a larger sentiment and you own the Sweet Holiday. That cupcake set has a large birthday in it, so you could, do the birthday stamped repeatedly. It's a nice little thing that you can use your sentiment stamps for to just add some interest. So now here, I'm happy with the way everything is looking. I'm going to take off this top piece because I need to stamp my strings. So I'm just keeping that intact. I'm going to stick it back down to my sticky mat. I'm going to use my magnet to hold my other 2 balloons in place. And then I will line up my stamp with the first one, which is the yellow one. And it's going to give me my strings on, to match up to where the heart should be, because obviously I didn't trim out the strings. That would be crazy. I don't mind fussy cutting, but that might even be a little bit too much for me. And then I will stamp those down, and then once they are all stamped, I'll be able to go in and adhere the ones that we fussy cut out, the trimmed ones out right over top of it. So yeah, so the sleeping thing, I can't complain too much because she's been a pretty good sleeper. Now that I've said that out loud, she'll probably get me tonight. And I'll be sad about it. I will be sad about it. I thought I was going to pop these up, and I didn't end up doing that. If you're going to raise up your cut out pieces, I highly recommend at least coloring the outline underneath, so that way you're not seeing just the stark white. I thought I was going to pop them up. I did not end up popping them up, but I left this part in case you did want to pop yours up. So I just put the glue down and then glued them directly to it. They obviously line up perfectly because it is the same image. And then I didn't pop this one up because I chose to pop up the ones that are underneath. That was a little bit more difficult, but I do think that it was worth it to have kind of like these raised balloons up off the background. And that is, the dimension that you get with a multi-layered card by using like a foam tape or multiple layers of cardstock really adds to the feel of the card. So here I am using that same craft foam from Picket Fence, and I'm going in. I will warn you, this stuff is very, very sticky. I use my Spellbinders non-stick scissors with this, because if I use my fiskars, it will stick to it. It will stick it and it will rip the foam. So I do use my Spellbinders non-stick, and those work great. Again, I am going to use some liquid adhesive. This time, it's because I am not trying to permanently adhere the foam down. I want to place it over the balloons I have laid out and pick those up. So it's just like kind of a little bit of a trick. So you can see I'm very generously applying the liquid glue because I want to make sure I'm going to be able to pick it up. So I'm just going to, I actually had to stand up to make sure that I was going to get it straight on the first try. So I'm using the grid mat on my glass mat, and then I'm standing up above it so that I can see that it is straight. I'm going to lightly press it down, just very lightly, and then that way I can pick it up as one piece, flip it over, and add the rest of the foam around the edges. Once I have all the foam, I've peeled them all. I've added all the foam and I've peeled them. I am going to use more liquid adhesive to make sure that I can, get that little bit of grace to get them where I want them to go. So now all I have to do is put that down in place. You can see how much dimension we have with that foam tape. Those balloons are raised up. They look like they're kind of flying out from behind it. I love it. I love the little rainbow colors. I think it's super cute. And then we're pretty much going to do the same thing that we did to the last card for like the finishing details, the glitters, the white gel pen. I didn't use the Stardust stickles because I didn't really feel like I needed them. But if I was going to use them, I would probably use them in the background. But I did use the glossy accents. So yeah, so she'll probably get me tonight because I've said that she's been doing pretty good. So pray for me that she sleeps through the night and I don't have to get up for 3 hours in the middle of the night and contemplate my life choices. So yeah, that's pretty much what we've been doing around here. That is why I sound stuffy. It's because I am stuffy. But I mean, you guys, if you're parents, then like it doesn't, that's just how it rolls. Like, I remember my girlfriend that I used to work with telling me about how she was a single mom and she had 2 boys. She was like, I was so sick. It was terrible. She's like, I literally, like, she had like the gates that you connect to make like your own size pack and play. And she was like, I just crawled in there with a bunch of blankets and the 2 boys. And she was like, I was just like in and out of sleep while they watched their, cartoons, like woke me up when they needed something. She was like, because I just could not function. And so because caring for them doesn't change whether you're sick or not. You still have to take care of them. Now, I am very blessed that I have a wonderful husband who does step in and help out. He just has a heavy work week this week. So sometimes that just happens. So now we've white heat embossed these little sentiments on black. I've trimmed them out into labels. And so it's going to say, happy birthday, it's your day. I have, and maybe you guys do too, I have multiple birthdays in December in addition to, Christmas. So I always need birthdays, and we are not a family that combines the holidays. So like if it's your birthday gets treated like your birthday. And if it's Christmas, then Christmas gets treated like Christmas. So I always make sure for my sister, for my niece and my nephew, it used to be Graham as well. Graham's birthday was in December. So I used to make sure that I made a card for them that was specifically for birthday. So I chose to fill in some of this empty area with some sequins. The sequins that I am using are, is it All About the Galaxy? Yes, that's what it is. So there are some plain black ones in here, but then there's also some kind of iridescent ones. They're really, really pretty. And then that's it. That finished off the card. So I hope that you guys learned something. You were inspired to maybe make some bright, colorful rainbow birthday cards. Thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate it. And I will catch you on the next video. Bye.